Jess for Heather.
Go for Heather.
Can you switch to two?
Switching. Hey, I'm Heather.
And I'm Jess.
We're two multi-hyphenate creatives figuring it out in real time.
From on set and in the studio to deadlines, pivots, side hustles, and starting over.
We talk about the messy, brilliant, behind-the-scenes reality of working in production, broadcast content, and everything in between.
Tune in for fresh tea, hot takes, industry guests, and the occasional chaos.
This is Switching To, the side channel for creative conversations.
We're glad you're here.
All right, we're on to.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Jess.
How's it going?
It's going. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I just love getting to chat with you on the pod.
I love getting to chat with you on the pod or otherwise.
Or otherwise, just in
I'm
general.
always excited to share stories with you about my life and things happening and
Yes.
tea.
I hear
Tea's
you have
great.
some tea for me today. You said, Heather, I have some things to tell you on the podcast. You know, for listeners, so they know sometimes we wait to talk about things until we're here.
Yeah, because I want Heather's raw reaction to be like, I want everyone to experience that. Like, I want everyone to
It's very hard for us, you guys. We do it for you.
we do, because you'd be surprised. We're on a lot of calls
We are
together
Yes.
for various things. So it's like I told Heather, I was like, I have to tell you something, but I can't tell you something until we
my
record
gosh.
it. So
what's
here
been
we
going
are.
on? What have you been working on
So-
lately?
I've been working on a lot. We've been doing some projects with I've been doing some projects with you.
Yeah.
We've been working on getting the podcast
This
going and
podcast.
doing episodes and everything. It's been amazing. I've been kind of exploring some different projects that I want to do when I'm like on my downtime and stuff. Been preparing for some projects coming up. What about you? What are you up to?
Yeah, feels like a really busy time. Things are happening, which is exciting. I feel like lots of things are brewing, which is cool and usually typical for this time as we start to go into Q4. But yeah, it was crazy. I recently went up to the Bay Area. I flew up to San Francisco for a commercial corporate shoot there that I producing, and we land the team. We're there getting some of our gear from baggage claim, and I get a text from the client that the shoot is canceled.
I just want to start by saying you told me you were like, we're gonna fly to San Fran and back in the same day. I just want to start with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think people would be they would be like, "What?" And that to us was just, "Yeah, it's fine. It's a normal day." Yeah. So that
you're
was
up there. You're at
we're up
baggage
there
claim.
at baggage claim. Well, so I had gotten an idea, an inclination that maybe something was not, I don't know, moving forward. You're dealing with a lot of the client and the agency and a lot of different groups of people in different time zones. So sometimes things take a little bit longer to make their way down the chain, right? And so before we take off, I thought, this is interesting communication, but okay, that's fine. They said, proceed, get on, move forward. Okay, no problem. Yeah. And then, we land and they thought, well, maybe we'll try to do some other content or repurpose it. And then they just said, no, it's okay. So, I had an Uber waiting. I've got some of our local team there with gear, like ready, almost there to load in. And we're pulling gear cases off the baggage claim belt. And, there's a lot to adjust. But I think nobody talks about like the emotional adjustment of that, because that was also a last minute shoot where it was, this was a Monday morning. The
Yeah.
shoot was probably locked in the Thursday before, or Friday, like Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday before. So, nobody really talks about this, I think, as much as they should. And Jess, I know you've dealt with this a lot too with productions we've been on. Things change. And it's, even if you cancellation policy, like people are able
Yeah.
to be compensated and all that, there's still the emotional, like we were ready to film something really cool that day and we didn't get to. So it's just kind of adjusting from that.
There's a lot of big feelings with that. I think you're like, and then your logistic brain, you put the feelings in the box,
Yes.
whether that's healthy or not. And you're like, I'm going to deal with this later. I need to logistically handle this. This is
Yeah. So that was just one day of a crazy week that I
Yeah.
think was it last week? I don't even know when this I think this
Yeah.
was. This was last week.
This was last
Um,
week.
yeah, so it's kind of crazy, but yeah. So
Oh.
what tell me your story. I wanna
Oh, yeah.
know
I almost
your
forgot.
your thing. What's up?
So, I had it on the calendar to talk to a potential new client today, and it was gonna be for some, like, consistent semi-consistent work doing some real estate photography and video and stuff like that, and I was telling my friend last night, my friend was over, and we were just, chatting, and I was telling them about this, and they were like, "So do you have a drone?" And I was like, No, like, that's as a multi-hyphenate, as a multi-skilled person, there's a lot of things I can do. I can do a lot, like, I can do a lot on my own. I worked in journalism for a while, I worked in local community TV for a while, like, I can be dangerous, and but I was like, "Ugh, I haven't done that yet," and I was like, "It's kind of on my list, like, if I end up getting this client, like, I'm gonna have to, like, figure it out." And my friend was like, "I have a drone in my closet, brand new, never been used."
Okay.
And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Do you want it?" And I was like, "Sure, sure."
Okay.
So I acquired a drone in the
Wait, what
last
is
20.
it? Is it
It's a
is it a DJI?
DJI Mini 2. It's a little
Okay.
bit of it's an older one. It's not the newest one. Uh, but of course I call my dad, and he's a retired tool engineer, who worked in aerospace for a long time, and when I was a kid, I flew model airplanes. So, like, this isn't, like, new for me, but
But
I
it's
was like,
also
"I got a
not
new toy." But also drones are, like, getting into the drones is and some of the projects you and I've worked on, like, I've gotten to assist the drone pilots, and, I mean,
Mhm.
they're flying, like, the big 50-pound drones, but, like, I've gotten to kind of assist, so I've learned a lot of the, like, safety stuff and kind of the different things, but holy cow.
That's a lot. I've thought about getting my drone pilot's license. There's a lot involved.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and then I'm just thinking about my insurance.
Oh, that too.
So, I don't know, I don't know, TBD with this client, but, um,
Wait, so what happened?
I I had the interview and it went lovely. I don't know if they're ever gonna listen to this, but I don't know if I'm the type of person they're looking for. I think they're looking for somebody who's gonna be a full ti like, kind of a full employee kinda person, and it made me realize, and I've been kind of a lost person for a while. I mean, I've been slowly going through the woods of figuring out what I like, what I don't like, what I wanna do with my career since having a pivot about a year ago. And I kinda thought about it after that call today, and I was like, like, I like what I'm doing with the companies I'm doing stuff with right now.
Mhm.
Like, I like the projects I'm working on. Like, I don't know if I can be the person they want me to be.
Mm.
And and so, I don't know, we'll see
Once you
we'll
go
see how
freelance, you never go back. I hope
I
everyone knows this. I say this to people with caution. Once you go freelance, you truly never go back,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
I mean, maybe in certain ways, but in your heart of hearts, that's it.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. So that was my tea for you. I acquired a drone
Wow.
just
I didn't
accidentally.
Wow. So
So,
are you going to pursue that right now or are you going to put that on pause? Are you going to like maybe pursue
I think just, like,
that?
recreationally for now. I don't know, like, I think I might just kinda see,
Yeah.
but,
I think you would be good at it. You'd be you need to be very, from what I see with pilots I work with, very focused. You have to be very firm. You have to be able to like lock in.
yeah,
I don't think, I mean, I thought about it and I wanted to, and I was like, cool, I can do this. And I was like, I can't lock in on a set. I would go crazy being like, but what about this thing? You can't. You have to be laser focused in, especially being in that type of environment. But that's really cool.
yeah,
I also think what's important about this is knowing when it's not the right job or opportunity for you. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, as you become more, as we all become more seasoned in our career, I mean, we realize that it has to be an appropriate match. I have, talked to many people who were like, I want to work for you. Like, do you have any opportunities? I want to have an internship. I want to work in the, okay, well, what do you do? Well, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, no, no, no. And you start to realize there's value and understanding, hey, this is me and here's where I fit.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is a hard thing to overcome initially when an opportunity that seems really great just isn't the best fit for you and you have to start making those choices because you can't do everything.
And, like, my producer brain's sitting there, and I told the potential client, I was like, I don't like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if I'm the person you're looking
Mm.
for,
You
you
told them
know?
that on the call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
No, I think
probably is
that's
a huge no-no.
no, I think you have to be honest for
But,
sure. I think
you can't, like, I mean, I can do what they want me to do, and there's a lot of reasons why I might not be the right fit for this, and they deserve to have somebody who is the right fit.
totally. And similar
And
but different, like, I don't know if you know the story, of the original actor, I'm totally blanking on his name, that was cast to play, Marty McFly in
no.
Back to the Future. So they filmed 5 weeks,
Oh,
roughly,
jeez.
with a different actor. And we should look it up because Uh, I mean, I heard them talking, interviewed like a docu about this, and he was a great actor. And they said there was nothing wrong with him as an actor. I think Robert Zemeckis, it was who was talking about this. He
Okay.
just didn't fit the world and he didn't fit the story
Eric
we were trying to.
Stolz?
Yes, Eric didn't fit the world. And like, there wasn't he was a great actor. It wasn't like he wasn't good at the thing or he just wasn't the right ingredient that they
Mhm.
needed. And, I think if you're in that position, like this makes me think of that. If you are in that position as like the actor or the creative or whatever on the other end, and you have that inclination that like, I just don't think I'm the right fit for this, to have the strength and the courage and the understanding and self-awareness to say that up front could actually save a lot of, I
Mhm.
don't know, heartache and stress later. But it always makes me think of, I mean, something like this of this story. And then, Michael J. Fox, like it's undeniable. Like he's that
Yeah.
character. And so I think a lot of that stories or those types of stories get told with actors because that's where it's best sort of manifested. But I think that happens with a lot of different creators as well. It's just not talked about as much that has to be the right match tonally. Sometimes you can't
Yeah.
explain it, you know? Yeah.
Well, I
With
I
that.
think with that, I with that, I would like to transition into our listener episode today. Which is
Yes.
along the lines of advice because I applied for that and I reached out to this potential client because somebody advised me like this might be a great opportunity and I was like, yeah, let's try it. On the opposite of that, which like I do think I'm really grateful I was on that call this morning and I learned a lot from it and I'm grateful to connect with those people. On the flip side, we reached out to some folks and because surprise, here's the raw side of this that we're recording this before the show has aired. So we don't have listeners yet. So we reached out to some of our network and said, "Hey, what's a piece of advice you were given in your career that ended up being totally wrong for you?" And so we have some responses to that. Uh
This is wild. I'm so excited to get into this. I really
Me
to be
too,
clear
cuz
for everyone, I haven't seen these.
I haven't read them either. I've seen like pieces of them.
We had them pre-vetted for us.
And 2 folks were so sweet. They were like, "I'm on set. I'm really busy. I can't like, I don't have time to type this down. Can I just say it to you?" So I have heard 2 of them.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm sorry, guys. I used the chat GPTs to transcribe it for me because I was running out of time today. But yes, so we have some I hope they'll listen, but we have some network folks who we reached out to and asked them these questions. And Heather, I would love for you to start us off. A lot of these folks wanted to be anonymous as much as possible. I can
Okay,
tell
we're not
you
gonna
what
say
they
their
do.
name. We're not gonna say
Well,
their name.
no, their name, like their first name is fine. And I changed the names for the record. I changed the names of the folks that requested their names to be changed. A lot of
Okay.
folks were concerned about NDAs, so
Yes.
as we as we well know.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Okay.
yeah, we're
Alright,
gonna read what they sent in and their first name.
and we'll
It's gonna
react
be
to it.
great.
We'll see. We'll go from
Yes.
here. Alright, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, here's the first one. So, in grad school, I was told that stage managing a tour was the best way to go. In LA, theater isn't too huge, and not everyone wants to go to Broadway. So, stage managing a touring Broadway show is the next best thing. It's great money, great experience. They made it seem like it was the thing to do. In grad school, I helped workshop a show that ended up touring. It wasn't long, but it was almost a month in Dallas, Texas, and then Amherst, Massachusetts. I hated it. It didn't help that my director thought the title of stage manager also meant lighting designer, costumer, and overall errand lady. But I hated being away from home and my dog. I hated hotel rooms. My cast was fine and the show was great, but traveling for work isn't the same as traveling. I went one more time to Chicago with the show, but by then I knew it wasn't for me. And the director was so heinous, I gave up touring completely. I know plenty of stage managers who love it, but it's just not for me.
And that was from Seaton.
Seaton. Oh boy,
Yeah.
Seaton. Well, I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons stage managing that touring Broadway show.
I think it's so good to learn. I think there's so much about the arts and media and
Hmm.
creative jobs that is traveling. And that's something
Yes.
that I learned this year. And
Living out of a suitcase.
yeah, I'm totally in love with it. I think it's great. But I know that there's a lot of people who, if it's not right for like knowing what's not right for you is I think is going to be a common theme in this episode.
I will say, as someone, I will say that over time, and I probably sound very jaded, but sometimes it does lose its allure a little bit. Having done it for probably almost 10 years now, traveling for work can take its toll, especially for me, like on a touring company, which I'm sure, and I've done jobs like this where we're going from one end of the country to the other,
Mhm.
we're going to Atlanta and all the way up to New York and, then over to, Texas. And it's like the climate and the changing of all of that and having to live out of your suitcase and be kind of ready for anything, it can take its toll. And it's like fun and cool and it's exciting. And we're all, I think, very lucky and blessed to have this type of work that we can see and do these things. But it is something I think that's not talked about, um, that
It's
it
hard on your
can,
body. It's
yeah,
hard on your mental health.
yeah,
It's
and
hard
being
on your
away from people.
relationships. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Seaton, for
Well,
sending us your story.
also on this, I think what's interesting is I think you have to do the thing because
Mm.
this is, interesting to me because I've been told we'll get into it, but other things like people go, "You know what you should do? You know what you should do? You know what would
And
be really great for you?"
they always are so excited to tell you what you
Oh
should do.
yeah. Oh yeah. And they're just like, "Yeah, you know what? You should do this." And sometimes you really do have to go do the thing to go, "Oh, that wasn't for me."
Mhm.
And that's fine. But I think people are always very quick to tell us what we should or shouldn't do. And
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to make that choice for ourselves.
All right. Well, I'm going to read the next one. This is from
Okay.
Bobby. A piece of advice I had to learn was wrong for me was be the first to volunteer. It seems like good advice on the surface. It shows eagerness and a willingness to help out. But in exchange for being the first one to raise your hand, you may be giving up the chance to make other connections or do more advantageous activities. I was working on an unpaid internship at a YouTube studio over the summer between college quarters. It was my first taste of real production life, and I was excited to help out. I was often the one to offer to do any tasks thrown out to the intern group. But after offering to go out and pick up lunch a few times, it started to become assumed that I was going to be the one to do it. So by the end of the internship, I was often out of the office in the middle of the day by myself picking up meals from various fast food chains. What I discovered by the end of the program was that while I was out getting lunch, the other interns were socializing and working on more meaningful tasks with the crew. They learned how a writer's room operates and how to use the gear, while I learned the talent doesn't like beans in their Chipotle burrito bowl. After that, I was more selective with when volunteering. I think about what I want to get out of the experience and how I can be more effective with my time and energy. That's such a good
Wow.
story.
Bobby, this is great. Whoa, there's so much to unpack here. Jess, what your initial thoughts on this?
My initial reaction to this is wow, because I feel like, and I think Heather, you're also a person that may or may not do this as well, but I feel like I'm that type of person where I'm like, oh, somebody needs help, like I'll go do it. I'll go do it right now. Like
Yeah.
let me help. And I'm recovering from that.
Yeah.
But what a learning lesson.
Yeah. I have so many emotions about this, namely because I was used to be this person. And like you just still have these tendencies. We're working on it. Similar vein, I've talked about this before, like not sitting down. Like I had somebody told me at some point, I don't know, is it Christopher Nolan or is there some director that like no one can sit down on his sets and it's this thing and I don't know, I must have
Yeah.
heard this at some point and I told myself if you are going to be the best production assistant, if you are going to be the best, as I moved up around, it's like you can't sit down unless you're, in the PO working on your computer or whatever. And in a similar vein, it's like, we're sort of told well, you have to just do anything that they need.
Right.
You have to do
Right.
this. Self-sacrifice
Mhm.
is the way to get, results in the end,
Because
and
everybody
it's
else
not.
wants your job. So you
Right,
better sacrifice everything. I mean,
right.
like, and that's the mentality I had for a long time.
Yeah. And it's like, why are you there? I mean, I also find too, it's kind of now being in a different role and kind of seeing, I don't know if you have this experience, Jess, but it's almost, like, annoying when somebody is like, "I'll do anything, I'll do everything." It's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, what?" Like, that they're not being methodical
Mhm.
about, they don't value themselves and they're not being methodical about the thing. Like, "I'll help you with anything," or "I'll
Yeah.
just do anything." It's like, "But will you?" And,
Yeah.
so there's, like, a respect level. I mean, I do think that when you're an intern, hey, you have to be willing to, like, kind of jump in and do some things that might not seem, like, thrilling in order to help out. I mean, I pick up lunch for people all the time now, still, as a producer or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it is knowing what you wanna get out of something. Like, I
Yeah.
wish that I would have spent more time at USC, I will say this, making better connections. I had my head down, I had max units, I was focused on a GPA, worked
Mhm.
3 jobs, and I just head down and did the thing, and I wish I would have taken a little bit more time to actually, like, have the experience. And I think sometimes we can get in that sort of mindset with these things, and you lift your head up at the end and you go, "Oh, I guess I did that, but what did it gain you?" You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
Mhm. Wow.
I agree. Thanks for submitting, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby. All right. Do we wanna move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Okay. This is a
Keep
short
it
one anyways.
rolling.
The worst piece of career advice I was ever given was to say yes to everything that is offered to you, regardless of the circumstances. It sent me down a road I probably wouldn't have chosen if I didn't feel pressure to say yes, even when it didn't feel like it completely aligned with what I wanted long term. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
And
talk about this.
that's from our listener, Haley.
Thanks, Haley.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of again in the same line of a lot of, I think there's a couple ways. I think it's we all start our careers so young oftentimes, or maybe we don't know a
Mm.
lot about them yet if we're doing a career pivot, maybe we're changing careers. And I think especially in this industry, you're encouraged to just say yes to everything. And I know that that works for some people. There's some folks that are like, "Yeah, I'm saying yes to this," or I'm saying, yes and or
Yeah,
but at the same time, uh I think it's an interesting point that Haley makes of if you say yes to everything, like, how are you gonna be able to focus on what you want long term? Maybe it doesn't
totally.
align long term.
I think it works when you're trying to figure things out. Like, I think when you're, you to me, if you are in film school or just starting out, you cannot turn your nose up at some indie, film PA job. Like, that's not
Mhm,
the time. And I think that that gets confused with like, say yes to things that don't serve you, saying yes to things where you're not being treated appropriately,
mhm.
saying yes to things that don't, I think those lines kind of get blurred. That's not, when
Yeah.
people say yes, it doesn't mean say yes to those things. It just means to be open and try new things. And I think to your point, Jess, you get to a place where it's like you really have to take a hard look at your goals and say, okay, does this fit this?
Does this align
No.
with my mission statement? Does this align with the mission
Yeah.
statement I've created from it? Does this
Personal
align
mission.
with my strategic plan? Yeah.
And that's hard because especially when you're in this, it can feel like if you have the scarcity mindset, which I think this industry can kind of cultivate a little bit, there's a fear of like, but what if I don't, you know, say yes to
Yeah.
this? And
Totally.
and I will say there's a fine line with that because nobody wants to hear this, but I think there is truth to saying no too many times
Yeah.
are not gonna I mean, as
They
a
stop
producer,
asking.
like if I ask a freelancer 2, 3 times, even if I like, Hey, are you available?" They're not available, they ghost they take too long to get back, whatever. I just won't reach out to them. I will go to the
Yeah.
next person, and then if
Yeah.
they're reliable and they're consistent and they could do a job, why would I reach back out to the first person? And that's, like, a
Yep.
very, like, cold thing, but that's what
No,
happens.
it's a hard line. I that one of the folks that I work for, every time they email me and they're like, "Are you available for this job?" I take a few moments and I'm like, "Okay, am I available that day? Okay, is what I have on that day movable?
Mhm.
Is it like cuz how do I limit the amount of times I say no for this project? Because it is a client that I want to work for
Sure.
and it's a client that I know that there are other people that they, like, can call in, and so, you know,
Yeah.
I gotta be careful about my no's. But
Yeah.
also
Which
gotta be we have to be careful about our yeses.
Yep, in both ways. It's
Yep,
it's yeah. Wow.
yep. Wow, thank you, Haley.
Thanks, Haley.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Laura. Laura said, "For me, it was a necessity of having to complete my bachelor's." And we talk about this a lot, Heather. When I was going to school for my undergrad, I pivoted multiple times. I considered film school, then pursued a path into public relations, but that didn't feel right for me either. And that feeling of uncertainty, along with other extenuating circumstances, led me to pause school and start working. That's when I first started getting experience with production and events. And knowing that I wanted to make my way to Los Angeles, eventually brought myself here and made connections the good old fashioned way, roommates and hinge dates, getting me my first LA local jobs in production. I love that. While I'm sure college, especially if I went somewhere local in LA, would have been helpful in some ways, gaining work experience myself and still finding myself in the same career spaces with a little less student debt as others has been very affirming, especially in a world where entry level in media can have such daunting requirements.
Wow.
What are your thoughts there?
I think that the idea of going to school, to higher education is something that, for a long time, our generation in particular, as millennials, it was like, if you don't do this, you are a loser.
Yeah.
Like
You
you
have to go to college.
getting your bachelor is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of people were forced into this and they didn't need to do that. I know people that went to Brooks, which was a photography, film, art school.
Mhm.
They closed. That school closed, and I'm sure they, got great education and great, connections there, but at the same time, like, what is that degree worth? Like, why are you doing it?
Mhm.
Back to what I had said before, I think you have to go in just like you go into a job, just like you go into an internship. When you have to go into school, if you're going to go into a program, knowing what you want to get out of it.
Absolutely.
What do you want to get out of that experience?
Yeah.
And you better be very, very clear on that because you're sacrificing a lot to go through a program.
What does that add to your toolbox?
Right. Is it serving you?
I think I might have shared this before, but I used to just piss off my counselors. I went to community college and then I transferred to CSUN. And like I used to piss off my counselors because I was privileged enough to be able to try video production in junior high and high school. So I knew some soft skills, I knew some technical skills, I knew how to, edit, I knew how to shoot. And by the time I got to college, I was like, okay, what do I not know? What are these courses that they're offering that I want to learn more about that's going to make me
Mhm.
a more well-rounded person? And I just remember my counselors being so irritated because I was like, I want to learn 35 millimeter photography because I want to truly understand what all the settings in manual are. And I want to take this script writing course because I would like to be a stronger writer, or I want to take this
Were you
podcasting
allowed to take
course,
those
whatever.
classes or did they
And
tell you no?
I made them fit into I did make them fit into
Mhm.
the degree requirements. But I do remember my counselors being like, "Well, everybody's taking broadcast journalism. Like, why are you doing general journalism?" I'm like, "Because it says the same thing on the diploma, right?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, but," and I was like, I'm working in radio professionally. Like while I was going to college, I'm I I've done video production. Like what are some other skills that I can learn that I'm paying you guys thousands and thousands of dollars to teach me that I didn't learn in my junior high and high school class or that
Yeah,
I didn't learn at my community college. Like what can you teach me? And I think that Laura has a really valid point of, you have to do what works best for you. And I like what you said,
absolutely.
Heather, that you have to know what you wanna get out of it.
Yeah. I think that's, like, the biggest thing piece of advice. I wish I would have known more clearly because at the time, I was like, "Well, getting my bachelor's, it's just that's the task. That is the thing."
Mhm,
And, I mean, but to your point, Jess, in similar vein, I also went to community college. I transferred in to USC. I went in as a political science major. I was a political science major for all of 2 weeks, probably less than that, and I just thought, "Oh, I'm sitting in my European political thought lecture," and I thought, "Oh gosh, no," because I was forcing myself to do, and
mhm.
so I ended up kind of designing school to
Yep,
work for me.
yep.
I pivoted and, enrolled into a major called narrative studies, which was a new interdisciplinary major with rooted in the English department, but you could pick concentration. So I picked film, and so I'm taking classes in SCA, editing, production, planning, and entertainment contract law, and like I'm picking all these things, which was really cool. And so I got to build this sort of holistic experience. So I think just like you did, Jess, I think if you have that opportunity, I mean, I even did it like I was working in production at the time.
Mhm,
I also was working jobs on campus. I was like, any place I can kind of build all these little
mhm.
experiences to make this sort of holistic educational experience. I think if you just go into school and you're like, cool, I'm going to just do this major and do whatever my counselors tell me, and you
Yeah,
wait till senior year to get an internship, like, it's not going to help you, you guys. You're just going to be in debt. And, that's when you'll have that piece of paper and go, well, now I have to start doing the things, doing
yeah.
that, taking ownership earlier on.
And work is experience too.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's so valuable. I mean, and it's a good way to dip your toes into things. Like, I changed my major like 5 or 6 times. And, like, I wanted to be a portrait photographer, and so I went and got a job at Picture People when they were still around. I don't know if they still are, but I learned a lot of things about the portrait photography industry. And then I ended up getting, some opportunities to do some full-time work in news. So I kind of went down that path for a little bit. And then that took me to like local community television and nonprofit work. And I think like you kind of just like follow this road. There's no blueprint. We always talk about that. And nothing's linear. And you kind of just keep finding what's interesting to you.
Yeah. It reminds me of, like, in The Wizard of Oz, there's the Yellow Brick Road, and that it goes different ways. Like, Dorothy could have gone a different way because
Yeah.
that yellow brick it goes over there and goes,
And there's
all the
side quests to
there's
the
side
Yellow Brick
quests, and then
Road.
you come back around and yeah, no, I think it's
Yeah.
just, like I think this is a bigger theme to just this idea of, like, people are waiting for the thing to save them or carry them. They're
Mhm.
waiting for their,
Their
degree
big
program
break.
to do it, their internship to do it. Yeah, some break, they're just somebody's gonna carry them away, some
Mhm.
job, something, and, I think the sooner you realize that that doesn't exist, I mean, I was there when I was younger in high school, you're like, "Oh, but if I can just get into this school, if I can just
Yeah.
get into this program or get an internship with so and so person,
Yeah.
ooh, cool, I'm set." And it's just when you're waiting for somebody else to
Yeah.
carry you along, it's just not gonna come. Gotta do it yourself.
You gotta make it. You gotta make the stuff.
Make your own path. Mhm, mhm.
Alright. Shall we move on to our next?
Keep going? Okay. When I was younger, I was told to mainly focus on only getting experience. I actually don't feel like I heard a lot about networking. Focusing on learning from your peers. Experience is great, but nowadays I've seen so many people get these incredible dream positions based on who they know in any given industry. One of the things I also remember hearing and still hear to this day is that it doesn't matter to make friends where you work. That's bad advice. Your coworkers don't have to be your best friends, but kindness, courtesy, and friendliness will get you way further than being aggressive and overly competitive. Wow. Show that you care and are there to be a team player. People want to work with people they get along with. And more often than not, they'll recommend someone who's easy to work with over someone who, while having experience, is a bit untrustworthy in the work environment. All in all, your network will open the door for you, and your experience will then keep you in the room.
Thank you for
That's from
Patricia for
Patricia.
sending that in. Yeah.
Wow. Go off, Jess.
Go off.
Tell us.
I think again, it's so interesting to see this thread that is kind of going through this full episode. We didn't plan this, guys. We didn't plan this thread, but it is who you know. It's so much who you know. I think every job I've ever gotten, and I know I have a lot of friends that say the same thing. Every job that I've ever gotten is because of somebody that I know,
Sure.
somebody that I met. And I think when we were us millennials back in the day, when we were in school, it was like, no, you go get you go get that degree and you'll make it. You'll be successful. But e
Yeah.
and it that doesn't necessarily, and it's great. It's fantastic, but I think Patricia is onto something, and also being a person that's pleasant to work with.
Oh, this is not talked about enough. This is not talked about. Look, I know some great uh, individuals who are really good at what they do. And I've been requested, from different people, whether it's a client or, a director or someone like that. They're like, gosh, I really love so and so. Their work is so great, but man, are they terrible to work with on set. They're grumpy. They get everybody in their spiral. They're not
Mhm.
kind and courteous. And they will go, they're so good, but they will overlook some things with an individual maybe not being 1,000% to the technical level of someone else if they are a great person to work with and a team player.
Yeah.
And more as production changes in scope and style and all of that, we're working on projects that are a little more scrappy more frequently. And I think that's going to continue. It's great. Indie film, it's great, but things are changing and like you better be a good person to work with in addition to being good at what you do. It's imperative. So be
Period.
nice, you guys.
End of
Jeez.
sentence. There.
We have a sign in our office
Yeah.
that
No,
says Nice Kids Club, nice kids only.
every time I walk into your office, I think about that, and I think about to get raw
I
again,
mean it.
I think about I've had role models where they're grumpy and mean and they yell, and I know early in my career, and I'm
Mm.
sorry for everybody that was around me in my early career, but I remember replicating that. I remembered, mirroring that and
Oh, you
being
thought that you had to be like that in order to
and I
be
thought I had to be like
yeah,
that. I thought that's how a leader is. That's how I get somewhere in this industry by being a bitch and being crabby and being like and raising my
yeah.
voice and nobody wants to work with that.
No.
I've done a lot of therapy and self-work since then, but
Well,
like
I mean,
I think it's really
yeah,
like you have these role models and also like being a person that's courageous enough to say this is not okay. Like this is
yeah,
not okay on this set in my studio in on this team in
yeah.
like it's hard because
Let me tell
like
you a story. Let me tell you a
tell
story.
me a story. Tell me a
I have
story.
had this was earlier in my career when I was the girl driving around. I was like, I'm the production coordinator. I'll do anything for anyone. Um, I we had a crew member, so a little bit older, more seasoned crew member. Um, apparently he didn't want lettuce on his sandwich. Now, sometimes when you're on certain projects, you're ordering food for a lot of different people, things can get a little mixed up. No matter how perfect you make your spreadsheet, no matter how okay, sometimes
Yeah,
things happen. And, it, they can be minor, but I bring this gentleman his sandwich. We're on a on location shoot, and I get it. Everybody's tired. There's a lot going on, but apparently they put lettuce on his sandwich, and he did not want lettuce.
it wasn't like you had an allergy or anything.
Right. No, that would be a different situation. And, that happens sometimes. And then someone brings it to me and, like, hey, that has happened. We
Yeah,
solve this issue. I get them
yeah,
their own thing. Like, we handle it, right?
yeah.
So this person could probably be my father at the time. He comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Heather." He opens his sandwich up. He picks up the lettuce and he looks at me and he's like, "Ew, gross, disgusting." I said, "No
Stop
lettuce."
it.
And he throws the lettuce
Stop it.
at my feet. He like slapped, like he just smacks it on the pavement. And he was like, "I said no lettuce." And he
Stop
walked away.
it.
And it's like, these are the things to your point of like not at the time, I just was like so apologetic. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I messed up. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. My job is to keep the crew happy and I didn't keep the crew happy and all this
Stop
stuff.
it.
But now to your point, I mean, I was not a senior individual on that set. And now if I saw that kind of behavior from one of my crew members to another one of
Oh,
my crew members, like that shit would get shut down. Look, and there's things happen on sets, like a pressure cooker, stuff happens, you get upset, you apologize or whatever, but, like,
yeah.
these are the kinds of things where, I
It's
think
not
we
okay.
now are in a place as this new sort of generation is becoming leaders in all these different
Yeah,
aspects, we have to set the tone, because if
yeah.
you are a producer or a director, a DP, like, whoever is a department head or a lead on set, and you make sure that this type of tone is not even entered into an existence where this type of behavior is the outlier and you're
Mhm.
going to look really stupid if you act like this
Yeah.
versus having a set that's hostile or a place where this kind of behavior fits in.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, it's up to us to by our behavior not allow these types of things to, you know. take place so
Yeah.
frequently. That's
Hashtag
my
nice kids
story.
only.
Yes.
All
All
right. Our
right.
next one is from Carlos. And he says, this wasn't specifically bad advice, but at my previous job, I kept pushing for a promotion and was given various ladders to climb towards said promotion. But as Lincoln Park once said, in the end, it didn't even matter. I love that. Thank you so much, Carlos. Sometimes we're told that we gotta suck it up and brave whatever our employer throws at us so we get rewarded for it one day. But times have changed. And with everything being so chaotic, I don't think we can rely on that notion anymore. Do what's best for you and the company, but also look out for yourself as things unfold. And always put yourself first in terms of health and career progression because everyone out there is looking out for themselves, including your employer. That's so real,
Oh,
Carlos.
Carlos.
That's so real. That's so real.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that sums up a lot of what we've been talking about.
it truly does. I think Emily in Paris was filming fairly recently over the summer, and I believe quite terribly their first AD had a heart attack on set. He passed there, and they were filming the next day.
Oh my god.
So
I didn't see this.
yeah, this was
Uh,
over the summer, fairly recently. They were in Europe filming, and their first
that's
AD, and
awful.
yeah. And I'm sure all of us have seen people in stressful positions like a first AD,
Mhm.
producer who, are just carrying the weight of the role or the production on their back, and it's, not necessary. Like, people will try to get you to do that, of course, but you need to always be putting yourself first. And like Carlos says, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to look out for the company or not care about your job. That's not what that means at all. But ultimately, like, they're gonna just I think John Mayer says, like, "I'm gonna find another you." So it's like they will, and that's really terrible to,
I had
accept, but
I had somebody who told me everyone's replaceable
isn't it?
and it doesn't matter if you and this person has a very successful career and they partially got their job because somebody had a health emergency on set.
Oh,
And that person, I don't know what their like if you know what the outcome was, but this person was kind of like next in line. The person who told me the story was kind of like next in line. And so when the person with the health emergency was unable to do the job, the production's like, "All right, who's next?" Like so yeah, Carlos is right. I think you have to take care of your health, whether it's your physical, mental, emotional.
mhm.
You have to take care of your health and
Yeah,
know that it is a job. And in production, it's production.
I know. Everyone
It's
acts like
not
we're, like, doing heart transplants or
we're
something. I
not
don't know.
saving lives. We're not I mean, we are helping people,
I
but
will say
in
it
some
feels
ways,
easy
but
to get into that for
you're like,
me. Like,
"Ah."
I've been
Yeah.
in situations where I'm like, "Oh my god, we have to go," and I'm like, "Whoa." Feels really easy to get wrapped up in that. And so
Yeah.
that's another thing with tone, like, if you're able to stay grounded, there are gonna be times, and that's okay. I don't we're all gonna just, like, boil over, and that's
Mhm.
fine. But just knowing, like, if you're not in that place right now, like, how can you help others and, like, be a rock for others and be grounded and help support everyone else? Because I do think that energy, like,
Mhm.
feeds, and so it's important for us to support one another in that way.
Yeah.
Our next one, this person says, I was often told to wait until I had more experience, to study more, or to prepare longer before jumping in. And yes, that can be valid, but I've found I've been most successful by just saying yes, even if I wasn't fully prepared. This isn't an industry where you can slowly climb a checklist. You have to dive in, sometimes mess up, and then learn from it. If I had waited until I felt ready, I'd probably still be living in another state. Instead, I trusted myself, jumped in unprepared, and that's when the best opportunities came. And on a funny note, in entertainment, especially as a performer, people often tell you to lie on your resume about your skills. Everyone does it. They'll say they can ice skate, play an instrument, ride a horse, whatever. The idea is that you just figure it out later, but that doesn't always work. Sometimes, if you say you can ice skate, they will not give you practice, and it'll be very obvious on the day that you cannot. Not speaking from personal experience, of course. So while it's not necessarily the worst advice, it can definitely come back to bite you.
I'd never heard of that before.
What? Just say yes?
Like, no, just
Lie
say
on
like, say that you have some extra skills. But
actors
I'm a
try to do this
pathological
all the time.
say that again?
Actors try to do this all the time, and we can
See, I had
unpack it
never
here.
heard of that.
It's an actor thing. It's an actor thing, and you guys don't fricking do it. You're gonna fall, you're gonna hurt yourself. Like, I think in the state of this is to me, there's a fine line here. And it's like, okay, sometimes, you're like, I don't feel ready. There's a difference between like, I don't feel ready. I don't know if I'm worthy. Like having some of that doubt,
Imposter syndrome.
imposter syndrome versus like, I can do archery on a horse, bareback riding down a mountain. If you have never like ridden a horse before in your life, don't say that you can do that, you guys. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, like, yes, also just saying yes, saying
Mhm.
there's someone who shall not be named. It's a male. He's a producer and knew him in school. And him and I always would kind of clash because I'm the kind of person who does have some imposter syndrome and I want to plan everything. And I'd say, oh no. And he, even now, or up till the time, he was getting all his jobs because he would say, oh yeah, I can do that for you. I do that all the time. He'd never done that before. And the night before, he's like figuring it out. And he's just like, he's never done that. But he told the client, oh yeah, I can do that. It's no problem. Now,
No.
and so that was like something where, but at the same time, I wish I had a little bit more of his, I don't know, confidence,
I'm such a
delusion.
pathological truth teller, like, to my detriment, and I don't know, I can't even, I can't even phrase things in a way like, I mean, I can't, like, I can be like, "This is great," like, "We're great, it's great," but you see it in my eyes.
I think
I don't
there's a
couldn't
difference
be like,
though.
"Yeah." I mean, I was telling you, I told the client that, from the beginning of this episode, I was like, "I acquired a drone. Do I know how to fly it? I'm working on it."
We have acquired a drone.
Well, thank you,
Oh,
Vera,
wow.
for
Thanks,
sending
Vera.
that in. And we were last but not least. This is from Jay, and Jay says, in terms of career advice that turned out wrong, I grew up in a culture where we deeply respect our elders, so I took advice from the OGs in stunts very seriously. One piece I heard was don't call yourself a stunt coordinator unless you've been in the business for 10 years. I get the sentiment, you need experience to be safe and responsible. But looking back, I wish I had started coordinating smaller fights and stunts after 4 or 5 years. That experience would have made me a better performer and improved my communication and understanding of how sets work, not just my physical skills. Another piece of advice I got early on was don't learn acting. Some older school stunt people said taking acting classes would hurt my career, that stunts and acting were separate lanes, but I always thought differently, especially since I studied theater in college. A few years later, the director for John Wick said something that stuck with me. Stunt performers are still actors. We're just actors who know how to fight. That made so much sense. And you can have the best fight skills, but if your face doesn't have the emotion, it won't work on screen. Now the industry is shifting and we're seeing more stunt actors or action actors who can deliver lines and perform stunts. I think that's the future, and it's why I believe the old advice to avoid acting was wrong. I'm not an actor, so can you comment on this, Heather? You were
You Tess, I got a comment. Of course I have a
yeah.
comment about everything.
I was just teeing you up. I was teeing you up.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So this is really interesting because I feel that there are a lot of these myths and specifically people plague on actors because I have this thing that I call actor brain. And it's maybe it
She has a
applies
really
to
great series that she does called
skits.
Actor Brain. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it,
Um,
you should.
but it comes from the idea of like, I feel that sometimes actors or performers or any of us artists, and I think I used to think it was just actors, but I think it translates to all different creatives. Sometimes we're kind of stupid. when it comes to this stuff. And even if it was somebody else, it would make sense. If it was a different industry or a different scenario, it would make a lot of sense. But when it's us, we like really think stupid stuff. We're like, oh, well, someone told me that, so I shouldn't do that. And then if you told someone else, like, oh, get as much experience as you can, have as many skills as you can, be as, diverse in your skill set as possible, that would make a lot of sense. But sometimes I think we get a little stupid, I call it, a little dumb with actor brain, which, and you believe these things that aren't true because you're just unable to use logic in the moment. I think that, just like a dancer or just like anything else using your body, a stunt perform I mean, you're acting through the physicality of your body.
Yeah.
And so to understand that, just like I think a director should take an acting class so that you can better pick up and work with your fellow performers. But I think, yeah, there's all these this is what I say, there are these stupid rules that they tell all of us that are just don't listen to them, you guys. Just use your head and just do what you think makes the most sense, which in this
Learn the
case would have
rules
been,
and
yeah,
then
and
break
break them.
them.
Yeah, that's what I think. Sorry, I went off on a rant there, you guys.
Girl, go off.
I feel so passionate about this because they tell
Yeah.
these actors these, to me, stunts is very much it's in a performer category. You're working alongside, first team, and like, I mean, it's very much that. And so I could see that somebody would say, "Oh, this is how you have,"
Yeah.
same thing. Like I'm sometimes, but everybody knows now, hesitant to, be like, "Oh, I'm a producer and an actor," or "I'm a producer and a director." I don't know if you feel this just too, where it's like I
Yeah.
used to hide certain parts of I was like, "Oh, I'm only this right now," because
Yeah.
I thought nobody's going to take me seriously as a producer if I say I'm an actor too, you know?
Yeah. I think again, just the culture is so it's hard for people to understand what a multi hyphenate is.
Yes.
And I think so many of us are multi hyphenates and we're kind of taking that phrase and like really embracing it now. And I think
It's exciting.
that's it's great. All right. Well, that's the show for today. Thank you for listening to our listeners episode.
Thanks for
And
joining us.
yeah, thanks for sending in all these fantastic pieces of maybe not great. I don't want to say bad advice. Like
But we got the
advice
good
about bad
advice.
advice.
Yes.
Advice about advice.
I love this.
Thank
This was
you.
Jess's idea, and I think it's fantastic, and I think it needs to
We need to do
continue.
more. So send us in some ideas that you want us to talk about. Send us in. We'll come up with some more listener episodes. Actually, I have another listener episode that I want you guys to send us stuff about.
Oh,
I want you to send us stuff about
dun,
what's a
dun, dun.
time you had to get scrappy to make a project happen. What workaround, hack, or unexpected resource saved the day? We'll post it on our socials. But
I got a
I
story
want
about this one.
yeah, yeah. I think I feel like you and I are both very scrappy people
Ooh.
and very resourceful people, and I'm proud of that. And so I think, yeah, we need to hear from you guys. So
Let us know.
send us your stories and we'll maybe read them and we'll react to them for sure.
This is gonna
So
be interesting. All
all
right,
right, that's it
awesome.
for the show. But before we switch back, we want to remind you.
Subscribe to the pod, follow us on social, and get on our mailing list. All very important things and all things that are super easy, fun, and you can do to help support Switching To.
Yay.
Thanks for listening to Switching To, hosted and edited by Heather Kate Duncan and Jess Boyer. Original music by Top Flow, courtesy of the Pixabay royalty-free music library. Recorded on location in Los Angeles, California. Follow us on social at Switching To Pod. Show notes and transcript can be found at switching2pod.com.